mechanism, and then as you roll down, you're using pressure on your thumb. It does take a bit of practice, and I'm still practicing it, but it's a real neat feature to have. Another thing that I've learned, actually the hard way, is that when you do play the instrument, since no air goes through it, you'll find that you will have saliva. And if you have excess saliva and you do play and it runs down the instrument, you should have a little cloth or something to wipe it off, because if the saliva rolls down into these roller keys, it will create a note which will be the highest note. And if a bead of saliva gets in there, it will stop the playing function temporarily. So it's always good to have something to wipe up excess saliva when you do play it. And since there is no reed, saliva is really not necessary in a function. With a saxophone or any reed instrument, you do need saliva to moisten the reed. On this, there's no use for saliva. So if it is on this part of the instrument, you should just wipe it off with a cloth. Niall?
To adjust this instrument to the sound module, there are 4 knobs on the left side of the panel which adjust the individual parameters for each individual instrument and personal taste. Once these are set, then the instrument can be left, settings can be left the way they are, and the microprocessor then takes care of everything within the programming. So basically, all this really entails is first adjusting the breath sensitivity and offset. This outer knob here, if I turn it up all the way, the instrument thinks I'm playing, and I'm not even blowing. So I back this off till the LED goes off, and it's a little bit farther. That's generally where the breath should be adjusted. If you want it to blow easier, you turn the middle knob up farther. If you want to blow harder, you turn it down. The vibrato sensitivity is right here. If you turn this up farther, turning this up farther makes the vibrato sensor more sensitive. Turning it down makes it less sensitive. The idea is not to control your vibrato sensitivity here, but to adjust it to where you have enough vibrato sensitivity to activate the microprocessor. A little bit of experience and you'll get a feel for this. Once this is adjusted, you leave it where it is and you adjust your vibrato amounts within the programming of the instrument. You never need to touch this again. The bend amount is also adjusted. Notice the LED going on right here. If I turn this outer knob, there's a certain point where the LED goes off. You set it there and leave it. The middle knob adjusts the sensitivity of the bend. What you do is you adjust this knob high enough so that you can bend as far as the program amount. For example, if you have a program that has a pitch bend range of 2, adjust this bend sensitivity high enough that you can bend up 2 semitones or down 2 semitones. Leave it there, and then you always adjust your bend amount within the program. The only other knob that we worry about is the glide knob, and we adjust this, the outer knob, which is the offset, just below the point where the LED goes off, and maybe a little bit farther for good measure. And the middle knob simply adjusts the sensitivity. How hard do I have to bite on the mouthpiece? Or if, in the case of the EWI, how hard should I roll my thumb over to get a slow glide? You adjust that with this knob here. Once these knobs are set, then we can leave them and do all of our changing our sensitivities and assignments of these parameters within the programs themselves.
Another thing I'd like to show you that Niall has developed for Akai in the EWI 2000 module up here is it has a feature that you can play MIDI into various instruments. And one instrument that I'm playing MIDI'd into is the S900 sampler. Now what I'm doing is I'm MIDI'd into the S900 sampler, but that really is not enough control. So what we're doing is we're taking the output, the audio output mixed, or left or right channel, of the sampler and running it back into the EWV 2000, has a external input, taking a signal from another instrument, running it into the synthesizer, and the synthesizer is feeding it through the VCA. The VCA meaning the breath amp. So we're taking a sample and it becomes something that has expression. Now for me, this is a woodwind instrument, and I'm playing a sample of a Harman mute, which I have on this disc right here. So you load this in, you would boot it up, then you would set the function on the EWV 2000, and then you would play. So that's a great feature. Now, you don't really have to do this just with a sampler. You could do this with any digital synthesizer. If you can't get the expression using MIDI functions, breath and aftertouch and all of these functions, you can just run the output, and instead of running the output into the mixer, run it into the external input on the EWV 2000, and then run the output of that into the mixer. And you're creating a loop, and you'll be able to play samples like that.
Using the setup that Joel just described with the S900 sampler, I have a trumpet sample in here. But we also can do an additional feature when sending MIDI out to another synthesizer, in this case the S900. We can also send out chords to the sampler and have it play polyphonically certain chords that we'll set up on the instrument. We can take 16 chords of our choice that we want to make up, put them inside of the EWV 2000, and then we can assign any of the notes we play to any of one of these 16 chords. So I have a patch here, for example, where I have different chords assigned to different notes, and you get an effect something like this. Different programs, we can choose different programs to have different sets of chords that we've chosen out of the 16 available chords that we make up. So we can do quite a few different kinds of polyphonic effects in this way. Well, that's just about it. The rest is up to you. Develop your own techniques.
Mm-hmm.